Good morning, children. Now, in the last class, our lesson was the open window. Now, in that, the main character is Frampton Nuttall. Now, he has come for a nerve cure to the countryside, to a village, because he wants to be completely calm and peaceful. He wants to have that kind of a time because he wants to get the cure for his nerves. So his sister had already stayed in that village 4 years back. So she gave him 2 or 3 letters to go and meet some people, because she knew that he would not talk to anyone. He was very nervous type. He did not talk to anyone. So it would be more harmful for him if he sat without meeting anyone, without talking to anyone. So she gave him 2 or 3 letters, and she said, you go and meet these people, show the letter that I gave, and be friends with them. So they will help you when you are living in the village. They will be friends with you. So here he had come to meet Mrs. Sappleton. She had given a letter to come and meet Mrs. Sappleton. So when he comes to the house of Mrs. Sappleton, he does not find her. Instead, a young girl, her niece, comes and talks to him. And she is a very imaginative young girl. She makes up different kinds of stories. And now, till he was waiting for her aunt to come out, what did she do? She made up a story of how Mrs. Sappleton's husband and 2 brothers had gone on a hunting trip, and that they did not come back. Even after 3 years, they did not come back. That's the story that this young girl made up. It was not true. It was a story made up by this young girl. And she told him, the window there, can't you see the window there? It was kept open. It will always be kept open, because those 3 people went out for hunting through that window, and they might come in back through the same window. So Mrs. Sappleton does not close that window. That is the name of the lesson, the open window. That window is always kept open. So it was this girl who made up all this story. So now, at last, after sitting and talking to her, this lady comes now. This lady comes into the room, and she tells sorry for being so late. Now, section 2. I hope Vera has been amusing you, she said. Vera is the name of the little girl, the young girl. She has been very interesting, said Frampton. I hope you don't mind the open window, said Mrs. Sappleton briskly. My husband and brothers will be home directly from shooting, and they always come in this way. They have been out for snipe in the marshes today, so they'll make a fine mess over my poor carpets. So like you men folk, isn't it? So Mrs. Sappleton also tells her, don't mind the open window there. My husband and brothers have gone out for hunting, so they'll be coming back soon. They always come in through that window. So that is why the window is kept open. So you don't mind it. She rattled on cheerfully. Rattled on means she talked on very happily. To Frampton, it was all purely horrible. You remember, he was feeling very frightened because this girl had made up a story. He thought that it was what actually happened, what had really happened, that her husband and 2 brothers had gone for hunting and never came back. So when this lady also told him that I have kept the window open because they will be coming in through the window, he thought that what is all this mystery going on? He began to feel frightened now. And Mrs. Sappleton was very happy, talking on and on. He made a desperate but only partially successful effort, turned the talk onto a less ghastly topic. He was conscious that his hostess was giving him only a fragment of her attention, and her eyes were constantly straying past him to the open window and the lawn beyond. So as he was talking to this lady, he was thinking, and he knew that this lady was not at all listening to what he was saying. Only one little part of her attention was given to this new visitor, but all the time she was thinking, her eyes were going to the window side to see whether they are coming back. So he felt very frightening. Why this lady is going on behaving like this? Why she is talking like this? I don't know. Ghastly topic means very frightening topic. He wanted to change the topic of their conversation, but he could not speak anything. So it was certainly an unfortunate coincidence that he should have paid his visit on this tragic anniversary. So he was thinking, oh, what a really unlucky happening. The same day this accident happened, that I had to come here. He came here to this house on the same day that her husband and brothers had gone for hunting trip and was not to be found. The doctors agree in ordering me complete rest and absence of mental excitement and avoidance of anything in the nature of violent physical exercise, announced Frampton, who labored under the delusion that total strangers and chance acquaintances are hungry for detail of one's ailments, their cause and cure. On the matter of diet, they are not so much in agreement, he continued. So he kept on talking about his sickness. What the doctors had told him, that he must take complete rest, he must not have any excitement, any adventure, any frightening experience, and he must be free of his mind. He must not do any physical exercise also. And what is the meaning of labored under the delusion? Means did something based on an incorrect assumption. That sometimes when we meet the strangers for the first time, Mrs. Appleton and Frampton are meeting each other for the first time, and he was going on talking about his sickness. And what was she talking about? She was busy talking about that she was waiting for her husband and brothers to come back from the hunting trip. So she was not much listening to him. She was waiting and watching for them to come back. So he found it very odd, very strange, that what this lady, why she was behaving like this. And food is also no problem. That's what the doctor told him. Diet means food. No, said Mrs. Appleton in a voice which only replaced a yawn at the last moment. Then she suddenly brightened into alert attention, but not to what Frampton was saying. So you remember, she was always watching the window. She was waiting for her husband and her brothers to come back. So she did not much listen to what Frampton was saying about his sickness. Then suddenly she brightened. Sorry, before that, before she brightened up, she was suppressing a yawn. Yes, she was yawning. She was feeling sleepy, hearing the details of his sickness. Then suddenly she brightened up. Suddenly her eyes became very attentive. Here they are at last, she cried, just in time for tea, and don't they look as if they were muddy up to the eyes? So that's why she was very attentive now, because she saw her husband and her two brothers coming back from hunting. Correct time they are, she said, right in time for tea. It was tea time. Frampton shivered slightly and turned towards the niece with a look intended to convey sympathetic comprehension. The child was staring out through the open window with dazed horror in her eyes. Horror is fear. Now, when he saw the husband and the two brothers coming back from hunting, he started shivering. He was shaking with fear. He was very frightened, because he believed what this young girl had told him. She had made up the story and told him that they were dead, that they had gone 3 years before and had never come back. So when he saw them coming now, he was very much frightened. And he looked at the face of the girl. The girl was also very much frightened now, because she thought that the aunt will scold her for making up such a story. She doesn't know what this man will say now. In a chill shock of nameless fear, Frampton swung round in his seat and looked in the same direction. So he too turned round to look at the window. And what happened now? In the deepening twilight, 3 figures were walking across the lawn towards the window. They all carried hunting rifles under their arms, and one of them was additionally burdened with a white coat hung over his shoulders. So it was evening now. Twilight is evening. So three figures you can see in the picture. Three figures are coming through the open window, and they all had hunting rifles with them. And one of them was wearing a white coat over the shoulder, hung over the shoulder. And who was there with them? A tired little spaniel kept close at their heels. They had a little dog also with them. Noiselessly they neared the house, and then a hoarse young voice chanted out of the dusk, "I said, Bertie, why do you bound?" Bound means jump. So they came without making any noise, and just when they reached the house, one of them said, "I said, Bertie, why do you jump? Why are you jumping?" Dusk means evening time, and hoarse means rough voice. Frampton grabbed wildly at his stick and hat. The hall door, the gravel drive, and the front gate were dimly noted stages in his headlong retreat. A cyclist coming along the road had to run into the hedge to avoid an imminent collision. So poor thing, he was very frightened now when he saw these people. He thought that they were really ghosts. So what did he do? He took a stick and hat. He got up from his seat, ran through the front gate, and then he came and dashed against one cyclist. A cyclist was coming. He went and dashed into the man. He ran into the hedge to avoid an imminent, poor thing the cyclist, what did he do? To avoid running into this man, he went to the sideways into the bushes. He stood there. Imminent means what? Likely to happen, and headlong is reckless or very hasty. "Here we are, my dear," said the bearer of the white waterproof coat, coming in through the window. "Fairly muddy, but most of it is dry. Who was that who bolted out as we came up?" So he said that the husband, he was the one who was wearing the white coat. So he is asking Mrs. Appleton, who was this man who ran out just as we were coming in. So we stop here, children. We continue in the next class. Read it well. Thank you.